I might be able to do this whole one in a video. So the most recent material we did involved simultaneous equations, and it also involved absolute value equations and inequality. So I just wanted to do a few more of those just to make sure we're ultimately ready. Remember, performance is a function of preparation, and I did not want to under-prepare. One time I was coaching a wrestling team, and we went 3.5 years without losing, and then we went up against Brentwood one time, and there's a certain type of low single called a sweep single, and we hadn't prepared for it, and I got lazy, and I just figured I don't feel like doing it, and I was just lazy. It was as simple as that. And they came in, so I didn't teach my team how to counter it very well, and they came in, and that's all they did was sweep single, and they beat us really bad. And I apologized to my team. Your performance is a function of your preparation. I did not prepare, and we did not perform, and we snapped our 3.5 year unbeaten streak, or winning streak. So I like to prepare thoroughly, and I just want to take an extra step to make sure you're ready for these kind of work. All right, so the first thing we have to do is realize, when do we use substitution and when do we use elimination? We use substitution when they're not aligned. For example, in letter E, it's y over x, not x over x, and the equals are not lined up. So that means we're going to go the substitution technique. So we take the bottom one, because it's a little more complicated looking, and we got 2x plus 3. We all write that the same. We write the equals 16 the same, but instead of the y, I put whatever the y is equal to, because they can be substituted one for each other, because the equal says they're exactly the same thing. So I substitute in the x minus 3. And now what's really cool is everything is the same variable in this, just like we've been doing throughout the year. Distributing the 3, I get 3x minus 9. Same side, same operation, combine like terms. 5x minus 9 is 16. Adding the 9, 5x is 25. Dividing by 5, x is 5. Now I have to go back and get y. Y is x minus 3. Plugging in the 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. So x is 5, y is 2. For letter F, same exact idea, but what I wanted the difference between E and F is really simple. In E, in front of the y is a positive number, positive coefficient, and in front of the y in F is a negative. And I wanted to make sure we covered both instances. Again, we copy the 7x, we copy the minus 2, we copy the equals, we copy the 16, but in place of the y, we put what the y is equal to. And it could say x equals, and if it says x equals, we put what the x equals to. But in this problem, it says y. So instead of the y, we put 2x minus 5. And I wanted to make sure we're good on distributing a negative here. That's 7x, and then negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. Negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. Possible trip up there. Equals 16. 7x's minus 4x's are 3x's, plus 10 is 16. Subtracting the 10, I get 3x is 6, dividing by 3, x is 2. Substituting that 2 back in for x, y equals 2 times 2, which is 4, minus 5 is negative 1. So x is 2, y is negative 1. If I graphed both lines, the point of intersection would be 2, comma, negative 1. Okay. Next up was a question about hot chocolate and coffee. We frequently have these kind of questions. When we do, I let H stand for hot chocolate, okay, and I let F stand for coffee. So a hot chocolate plus a coffee is $2.75. Oh no, I'm sorry. They sell so many hot chocolates and so many coffees, and they get $2.75. 75 cents for a hot chocolate, 50 cents for a coffee, and altogether that adds up to $200. That's what we get out of the printing in here. So now, to make it the same, I want to get rid of the f's, so I'm going to distribute a negative 0.5 to the top equation, which gives me negative 0.5h minus 0.5f equals negative 137.50. Now they're lined up, add them up. I get 0.25h, the f's go die-die, abducted by Sasquatch, cancel out, abducted by aliens, squished by Sasquatch. And negative 137.50 and 200 is 62.50, dividing by 25 cents each. And I get that H is 250. Now remember, H plus F was 275. So if H is 250, I subtracted 250 from both sides, and that means 25 coffees are sold. So I was a little curious if this actually worked out. So I took the original equation and I checked it in the one with the monies. And yes, it did work out. So a little bit surprised about that. It didn't seem right in my head, but it worked. Okay, Lily wants to buy some granola bars. At Kroger's, you can get 6 strawberry and 4 cherry, T for strawberry, C for cherry. I don't like using an S because it looks like a 5, for $6.90, and 5 strawberries at Sam's Club plus 9 cherry for $9.15. So that means that I need to get a like a common denominator here, or match up my C's. And I can always go back to the trustworthy, take the top one, multiply it by the bottom coefficient, take the bottom one, multiply it by the top coefficient, make one of them negative. I did the 4. So the top one becomes 54t plus 36c equals 6210. Bottom one, negative 20t minus 36c equals negative 3660. Adding them up, I get 34t equals 2550, dividing by 34, and t, the strawberry, is 75 cents. Plugging it into either equation, I chose the top one. 6 times the cost of strawberries, which is 75 cents each, is $4.50, plus 4c is $6.90. Subtracting the $4.50 is $2.40, dividing by 4, and I get that the cherry is 60 cents. Miss Kitts works at a music store. Last week she sold 6 more than 3 times the number of CDs she sold this week. So if I'm going to let X be this week and Y be last week Y is 3 times this week plus 6. And over the 2 weeks combined, she sold a total of 110 CDs. So the total X for this week plus the total Y for last week is 110. This is a substitution guy where you're going to substitute the 3X because they don't line up. They don't align, I should say. Y over X equals all disjointed. So X plus, instead of Y, I put 3X plus 6 is 110. 4X plus 6 is 110. Subtracting the 6, dividing by 4, and I come up with X is 26. All right, Y equals 3X plus 6. Y equals 3 times 26, because X is 26 plus 6. Y is 84, and thankfully 84 and 26 add up to 110. Okay, you can do these perimeter problems the way we've been doing them. Left, top, right, bottom, adds up to 86. But if you wanted a way to play with them and a different way to do it, you can do it with the length is 3 times the width, and then 2 lengths plus 2 widths is 86. And they'll both work if you start it that way and work it on out. But I think we're really, really good at the top way, so I don't think it's necessary to do it the bottom way. But that is a system of equations that can be used to find the dimensions. All right. Next one, we have an absolute value equation. This one has a negative 4 on the outside. So we got to start by dividing everything by negative 4. And I get the absolute value of x plus 3 is 7. So maybe it's positive 7 or maybe it's negative 7. Subtracting 3, I get x is negative 10. Subtracting 3, I get x is 4. So the two solutions are negative 10 and 4. With an equals, it's pretty straightforward. Another equals. It could be negative 79, or what's in the absolute value symbols could be positive 79. Just remember, with absolute value, it could be the negative or it could be the positive because it means distance from 0. And the distance on the negative side is the same exact distance as on the positive side, as long as the 79s are the same. Negative 79, positive 79, both 79 units away from the origin. Adding 1 on the left here, negative 10k is negative 78, dividing by negative 10, and I get k is 7.8. And there's no need to change signs because it's equals. Here, adding 1 to both sides, or an equality, I should say. Adding 1 to both sides, I get 80. Dividing by negative 10, I get negative 8. So those are my two solutions. Okay. Next one is an inequality. Wants me to graph it also. Notice it's less than, so it'll be bounded. M minus 2 is greater than negative 8, or M minus 2 is less than 8. Adding 2 to both sides, M is greater than negative 6. Or adding 2 over here, and I get M is less than 6. So it's the area between 6 and negative 6 that's bounded, and they need to be open circles or parentheses when we graph it. That's the bounded interval. Here we have 2 less thans, so we know they're bounded intervals. They will always look like they do on the bottom here. It could be, the first one, number 13, could be greater than negative 34, or it could be less than positive 34. Adding 4 to both sides, 10p is greater than negative 30. Dividing by 10p is greater than negative 3. Or, adding 4 to both sides, 10p is less than 38. Dividing by 10p is less than 3.8. So here's your range. -3 is less than P, which is less than 3.8. All right. Number 14. 6 plus 9x is less than or equal to 24, which means it's either greater than or equal to -24 or less than or equal to +24. So I subtract 6 from both sides on the left here, and I get 9x is greater than or equal to -30. When I divide by 9, I get x is greater than or equal to -3 and a third. On the right, I subtract 6 from both sides. 9x is less than or equal to 18. Divided by 9, x is less than or equal to 2. So I combine it all together. -3 is less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 2. And on the left, -3 is less than p is less than or equal to 3.8. To graph that, I go up to -3, open circle on -3, open circle on 3.8, connect the dot, or parenthesis on -3, parenthesis on 3.8, connect the parentheses. On number 14, they're going to be closed circles or brackets, and connect the distances in between -3 and 1/3 and +2. Okay, last one, a greater than inequality. 4n minus 2 is going to be either less than -34, because it's going to go further away from 0. Add 2 to both sides, divide by 4, n is less than -8, or it could be greater than +34. Add 2, I get 36, divide by 4, and I get n is greater than 9. So n is less than -8 or n is greater than 9. There's no graph here, but there's no bounded interval in between. They just go in opposite directions away from 0. Okay, there's your last review of the year, the last video you'll possibly have to watch, unless you want to go back and watch one a second time for sentimental sake. Have a good one. Enjoy.